I'm told short people make long speeches. I hope to disapprove that today. I start by congratulating the leaders of the East African Court of Justice upon concluding this important week of reflection. Congratulations to you all. Your Excellency, let me inform the participants who are now bidding us farewell that last Monday during Cabinet, an interesting announcement was made that from Monday next week there will be Swahili lessons in Cabinet. Not many people are looking forward to those lessons because it's going to be a challenge. It's good that the media will not be there. Otherwise, Ugandans would really be entertained as we struggle to catch up, to be up to speed, to master a language which should be the common thread of communication. I think in a few years, those who may be laughing at us now should come back. Your Excellency, you are one of those who presided on the rebirth of the East African community. Last week, in fact early this week, you put a question to the women judges. What is the contribution of the judiciary to the prosperity of the long-suffering African people? The East African Court of Justice is but one of the pillars of the institution on which we depend for integration. The others are the Summit, Council of Ministers, and the East African Legislative Assembly. We have to assume that democracy is the basis of these institutions. But I have to quickly add that the democracy we are talking about is constitutional democracy, in which the supreme law of the land provides a form to the fundamental structure of the national state, and I believe at a future date, the supranational state, which we will call East Africa Community. The test, therefore, as to whether these institutions are democratic is to look at the substance rather than the form of the democracy. In chemistry, we learned that water consists of 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. But water can exist in a solid form as ice, a liquid form as the water we drink, and in a gaseous form as vapor. We have got now to consider the question of justice. We have to focus on the essence of justice. Justice is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. The forms of the institutions in which justice is served vary, but the essence of justice is that all citizens deserve the social conditions that will ensure the full exploitation and development of their potential. An individual whose mind is uncultivated, like a garden full of weeds, a body ravaged by disease, and who lives in a society without security, cannot therefore enjoy what we call justice in its true sense. This requires the courts to always align their considerations of particular cases by basing their decisions on what, in their judgment, is the citizens' sense of justice. On the part of the citizens, they have to know that at the end of the day, justice is really about balancing rights and responsibilities. This balancing act can only be possible if we exercise our powers of practical reason, informing, reforming, and pursuing what we believe to be right, in this case, the common good. Your Excellency, when you assumed the leadership of this country, you found what I would call a pseudo-welfare state on its knees. And I wish to briefly talk about your contribution to justice in the broader sense, outside the courtrooms. Now, what you have been preaching for long is what I would refer to as a property-owning democracy, which is basically competitive markets through which ownership of wealth can spread. This will prevent a small part of society from controlling the economy and eventually the politics. What you have been preaching is not about redistributing income, but to ensure widespread ownership of productive assets and the development of human capital. In other words, citizens with educated abilities and practical skills. You have contributed to justice through the universal primary education and the university secondary education. So the idea is not just to assist the poorer, but rather to empower citizens to take charge of their affairs and to participate in a cooperative manner on the basis of respect and equality under conditions created by government. These days in Uganda, we are talking about the parish development model. A few days ago, you were talking to the women judges about moving Ugandan peasants away from subsistence economy to the money economy. I believe this is part of justice. So in this pseudo-welfare state that I talked about, the goal is that nobody should fall below a certain standard of life. The World Bank calls it the poverty line. In other words, as long as anybody can live on $2 and above, it is okay. But what about creating wealth instead of insisting on the bottom line? In what you have been preaching, the basic institutions put in the hands of citizens, generally not just a few, the productive means to be fully involved in prospering. Wealth is therefore dispersed because the ownership of capital and other resources is more broadly spaced. I believe in Uganda we shall reach a tipping point. Some of the things that we have to mention here are the constitutional provisions relating to land. In Uganda, land belongs to the people. You, Your Excellency, have been at the forefront of crusading for the rights of tenants. These are the conditions that translate into true justice, the conditions that spur prosperity. Finally, there is the equality of opportunity. When we talk about equality in the Constitution, it should be about equality of opportunity to stay alive. A country that cannot immunize its babies cannot be said to be providing equality of opportunity. A country that cannot provide health services and food security cannot be said to be providing equality of opportunity or even the right to life, no matter how lengthy the provisions on human rights are in their constitution. I urge our distinguished judicial officers, while making your decisions, don't forget about our context, the historical conditions. Our traditions are also very important. Many times, because of our Western education, we undermine our traditions as a cake. But as a practicing lawyer, I've witnessed cases where an accused person has changed his plea on account of the strength of traditional beliefs. One such case was when the villagers came to court and said they would go back home and settle the matter traditionally. And settling the matter traditionally, in this case it was a murder case and the accused was denying. It meant going back to the village and drinking a potent mix of herbs. And the belief was that if you were innocent, the herbs would not kill you. If you are guilty, the herbs would kill you. Upon hearing what the villagers were resorting to, the accused person begged the judge to change his plea to guilty. This means our traditional beliefs really do matter. We have also to think about the institutions that support the judiciary. The judiciary is not in isolation. It is part of the whole government system. And of course, the social forces. Your Excellency, you are the only member of the East African Summit here. I've had pleas for independence. I believe today you will provide assurance that you will continue to provide conditions that guarantee that questions in dispute can be fairly and reasonably decided. Thank you very much.